astronauts, it's me, Brandy, and welcome back to Astro-Tarot Research. Today's reading is another reading suggested from you astronauts. This one was a question from Get It G, who put this question in the live. So if you don't go to the lives, you should go to now because maybe your question might be used for a reading. This question is, what do my ancestors think of me? We have 5 piles to choose from as always. But before we get started, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to say, can you please like, comment, and subscribe? And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Now, let's not waste time and get into these piles. We have pile number 1, pile number 2. I think I hit pile number 1 a little bit. Pile number 3. Pile number 4 and pile number 5. So let's not waste any more time and just sit back, relax, and choose. Hey, pile number 1, let's get started on what your ancestors think of you, the High Priestess. The 4 of Pentacles, the 5 of Wands, 2 of Cups, and Neptune and Pluto. Okay. Right off the bat, we have you being someone who is very in tune with themselves. Someone who is more than likely has strong intuition, maybe some psychic abilities, very much into learning about the secrets of the universe, connected to spirituality. I think that's all makes sense, you know. It aligns with the fact that you're here watching this tarot video. You obviously have a calling, a deeper calling to the esoteric and the spiritual realm. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching a tarot video. And so your ancestors feel that you are very much in tune to the secrets beyond the veil and learning about them and trying to go beyond the physical plane is what I'm getting from you, pile number 1. But there is some interesting things going on here that we may need to talk about. And for just a little bit, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing here is that you may be a person who is either very shy or possibly distrustful towards other people. Possibly, maybe you feel like you've had some experiences where it makes it hard for you to open up to others, because the cards that we have here represent feeling some sort of strife or frustration and discomfort when it comes to forming connections, building relationships, letting people in, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Like, this is where we see that there are some challenges and your ancestors are viewing you from this lens. Even though you have a lot of internal wisdom and you have pretty good instincts, sometimes it's not your instincts that's guiding you, but more so a sense of fear and anxiety. Okay? Sometimes it can be hard to see the difference between, oh, am I picking up a weird vibe from this person? Or am I really just projecting my own insecurities on this person because I've had some negative experiences and this person sort of reminds me of someone that I had those negative experiences with? So even though you have strong intuition, sometimes that intuition gets a little bit fuzzy when you feel like you're in a situation that is maybe outside of your normal day-to-day. Maybe you're being introduced to somebody new. Maybe you're in a social situation. Whatever the case may be, the 4 of Pentacles represents someone who doesn't want to take a risk or take a chance or put themselves out there. They just have a fear of loss, fear of maybe being rattled emotionally, a fear of being rejected, a fear of things just not working out and going as planned, essentially. And I think it's because you are so very protective of your inner world and your peace, which makes sense with the High Priestess there. She's quiet. She's in her sanctuary. She is not bothered by anyone. Usually the High Priestess has time to herself to just focus on growing her wisdom and her spiritual knowledge and developing her inner being and wealth and having this deep internal harmony is what I'm seeing. But your ancestors want you to sort of take a risk and put yourself out there more, because the overall themes of these cards can represent having struggles and challenges within relationships. Like I said, it could be because you've had some experiences in the past, which makes sense with this Four of Pentacles there. Four of Pentacles doesn't have this fear for no reason. They come from that place of that Three of Pentacles. And that Three of Pentacles involves like working together and being around others. And if you've ever been working together, then you know, if you've ever had a job ever, you know that there's conflict when you have a lot of different personalities. And this Three of Pentacles is just like, man, I don't know if I want to even risk expanding to my circle, because what if it gets more stressful? What if there's just more personalities to deal with? Or it doesn't even have to be about personalities and people. I'm just using this example because it's like the first one that came to me. And it's easy to explain, but it's just like, what if there's more people that could be irritating? It's kind of like this stick to the devil you know mentality with the Four of Pentacles. Your ancestors don't want you to do that. They don't want you to stick to situations you already know. They don't want to stick to people you already know. They don't want you to stick to jobs you already know. They don't want you to stay with the same hairdresser. They don't want you to stay with the same barber. They don't want you to stay with the same nail artist. They don't want you to shop at the same stores. They want you to change and move, because this Five of Wands is all about change and taking a chance and taking a risk. And yes, it's difficult. And yes, you go through some trials, some tribulations, some frustrations, some ups and downs, some moments you were like, I really didn't expect that to happen, and that the thought of that happening doesn't excite me, and I didn't like that happening. It doesn't matter, because you'll rise above that and you will be able to form deeper connections and deeper bonds with people. They feel like there's a part of you that's just very, very introverted. You're an introverted person. And though there's nothing wrong with being introverted, they feel like with this Two of Cups here, that you may be craving a deeper emotional intimacy. And I think that's what this card is about, because sometimes I get this Two of Cups reversed to mean like, I wish I had a connection. I wish I had someone who I really loved and cared about. I wish I had that. I wish that I had someone in my life who really cherished me and cared about me and loved me. I wish I had deep, strong bonds and friendships. I wish I had people I could open up to. I wish I had people I could be vulnerable with. I wish I had people I could trust. That's what this Two of Cups energy could be about. Now, I could be completely wrong. I could be completely off base. But the fact that these cards here kind of are representing, you know, miscommunication and imbalance within relationships and feeling disconnected from a partner or a friend or just other people in general. And the thing about the High Priestess, or the Popess, and this card is called, is the High Priestess is isolated. She's away from other people. She's observing other people. So your ancestors view you as somebody who's kind of like an observer, somebody who pulls back. Same with the Four of Pentacles. I always get the Four of Pentacles to be this wallflower type of energy. And when they kind of like get into a situation, Five of Wands, like with talking and moving and interacting with other people, it can be awkward, like especially following this Two of Cups. So maybe that your ancestors feel like you have some sort of social anxiety, or you get nervous when you have to meet new people, or even speak in front of others, or you're worried about being judged, especially that Five of Wands energy. I always get that when somebody's like, I'm so scared what other people are going to say to me. I think other people are going to say mean things to me. I think they're going to bully me, which rightfully so, because there are some mean people in this world. So we all know that. We all know that, okay? And you have this cards here that says you're very sensitive and you're somebody who just doesn't want to be rattled in that way. Like I said, you have this very like calm, peaceful energy, and you do not want that to be disturbed and disrupted in any means. Your ancestors may feel like you're someone who can use their intuition and their natural abilities at understanding and viewing, observing others, to be able to eventually get to this place of flow when it comes to resolving communications between other people, or even just trying to understand certain things. Maybe you're just trying to connect spiritually to, you know, your spirit guides or the other world or the other side or some sort of spiritual higher power, and you're feeling like a little bit blocked. For example, I think I may have used writer's block for, I don't know if it was this pound or the pound. It might have been another reading, actually. But you may have feel like somebody who is undergoing writer's block. The High Priestess would say, okay, I'm going to use my natural abilities to follow my intuition and figure my way out of this writer's block. I'm just going to do what comes natural to me. I'm going to try a bunch of different creative exercises. And maybe that's something maybe that intuitively comes to you. Or maybe I'm going to go to a park and I'm going to observe people and people watch. And that's going to inspire me. Like, they want you to be able to use your intuition to guide you through creative processes, through miscommunications, through feelings that have to do with being scared to take a risk. They say just take the risk and do what comes natural and feels right for you. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's fine. But take the opportunity, take the chance. Because right now, your ancestors feel like you're not a risk taker. I mean, to some degree, but they feel like you're hesitating and they want you to go full force. I'm not going to say you're not a risk taker, period. But so they feel like they really want you to jump in full force. They feel like right now you're dipping your toes in and they want you to like fully jump into the deep end. Okay? That's pretty much what they're thinking of you. Sometimes though, I will say with the Five of Wands is that I can get it to represent someone who can be combative. And I'm not going to say that to you guys. That's maybe like 10% of you. Maybe that's like 5% of you who can be a little combative. And that happens sometimes. Like if you're somebody who has been through a childhood or an upbringing where you constantly had to like defend yourself, where you were constantly undermined, where you were constantly invalidated, you may take on this sort of contrarian sort of personality, something along the lines of like Kanye West or something, where he's always seemed like he's trying to be some sort of, I guess, outsider to popular opinions. He was like that when he first started, where he was coming in as this sort of, what's the word? Opposite of gangster rap. Like he was this like suburban guy with highly educated parents, and he was coming into the rap game and sort of using social consciousness and talking about college and things along the lines of that. Like he was trying to be in like this sort of like contrarian role. And now, even today, he still sort of sticks to that. And he is being like very much like, I support Trump. I support like, you know, hate speech and all of this stuff. Like he's just saying a bunch of wild things that are very unpopular. So sometimes, and his upbringing has to do like, you know, his parents got divorced. Obviously, he didn't spend as much time with his dad. His dad wasn't as emotionally involved, so he gets that sort of like rejection or the being invalidated or feeling like he's not important or sort of being pushed aside. And at the same time, he's very talented musically, but he's not being recognized for his talent. So it's like he's being dismissed, right? So people who have that childhood can sort of come up and take on this very contrarian, let me just like act like this underdog who is always trying to like defend myself and prove myself and saying, no, you're not understanding me. No, actually, I don't think that's right. And like I'm sure you guys have met people like this, or like like the book cards, your ancestors may say some of you are kind of like this, where it's like saying, even as I'm speaking now, you're probably like, no, that's not me. You know what I mean? Something along the lines of that. You just kind of meet people who just disagree to disagree. You have people who are agreeable and people who are disagreeable. That may be like 10% of you, okay? But I have to throw that out there because the cards are giving me that message. And that may not be all of you, like I said, may just be a small percentage of you who your ancestors feel like you're just being like, you're being very contrarian and you're defending yourself when not everyone is kind of at your neck, okay? Another portion of you can feel like you're just somebody who's competitive. Like that could be just the thing. And there's nothing wrong with being competitive. Sometimes competition can fuel creativity and inspire change and make you develop as a person when you are being creative in that way and being competitive. Like when you're trying to be competitive for jobs. I think if we weren't competitive for jobs, people would all kind of try to be mediocre. Instead, now you have people doing all sorts of interesting things with their resume, and maybe they're starting their own business, and maybe they're starting a website to sort of stand out. For example, I knew someone who was a journalist and they couldn't get hired. And so in order to get hired, what they did was they started a website and they started posting all of their like articles and interviews and everything they've done and created on this website because they were wanting to stand out. They had to take the initiative. And so you see how competition can fuel creativity and can fuel some sort of burst in passion in a way. So it can cause things to develop in a way that's maybe not in this case innovative, but it's just sets you apart and makes you different. Okay, it helps you differentiate yourself and stand out and be special. But in some cases, it can be innovation. Now, speaking of innovation, because your ancestors, I hope I didn't make you any of you guys mad talking about like, oh, you're just a contrarian and you're, you know, if you don't get along with people. No, no, no. Your ancestors have plenty of good things to say. Speaking of innovation, we have this Neptune and Pluto energy. And man, I talk forever, man. But there's so much to say. So Neptune and Pluto had like this conjunction from 1991 to 1992. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. So what was happening through this time was a lot of different things, but the main thing was there was a lot of different changes that had to do from pushing from like rural kind of living to a more industrialized environment. There was just a period of rapid growth in the world in a way. There was a lot of, what's the word I want to say? Urbanization, technological progress, and then a rise in material wealth. So your ancestors feel like you're someone who is always looking to innovate and improve themselves, which makes sense when we're talking about this competition here. Maybe this competition is not with anybody else, but maybe it's with yourself. Maybe you're constantly kind of seeking perfection and proving things to yourself, because we do have this Four of Pentacles here. And when I get this Four of Pentacles, that can represent perfection. And this Two of Cups can represent wanting to compete with like this shadow version of yourself and trying to like outdo your past self in a way. Especially next to, in between, these combination cards can mean that, is what I'm saying. But there was an industrial revolution, and so it's almost like you're trying to evolve, you're trying to get to that next stage, which makes sense when we have this High Priestess here, you know, as above, so below, representing trying to transforming yourself into the purest version of you to gain spiritual enlightenment. And I think that's what your ancestors see you as, somebody who's trying to gain spiritual enlightenment. And I think that matches up with that Pluto and, Neptune energy. My tongue is just like, because at the same time, sorry guys, my tongue just got tongue twisted. At the same time, during this era, there was like a rise in spiritualism. And so I think that's connecting to you when it's saying how you're always trying to rise and innovate and deepen your level with spirituality. I think that's why we got this high priestess first, because it's like your spiritual growth almost becomes, or your personal growth becomes like number one factor in your life in a way. Okay? And you're like, how can I evolve? How can I be better? How can I look for deeper things beyond the material world? You're like, I need something more. I need something that feels real to me. I do feel like with this going on here, this Neptune and Pluto vibe, it can represent wanting to express yourself in a way that is, I don't know, different and set yourself apart. I mean, it's kind of just like repeating the themes here with Neptune and Pluto, because it does have to do with changes when it comes to, like, a lot of people were changing sort of like what their pastimes were, because like I said, there was a rise in material wealth. And so they had more free time for like sports, theaters, and parks. And so that can be like a form of expression and happiness. And so you're looking for different ways to express yourself. And your ancestors love that you're very experimental with what you throw your energy into and how open you are and willing you are to try different things, especially with this Five of Wands. One thing about the Five of Wands is it can represent juggling a lot of different things. And I feel like that's you. Like you're a busy bee in a way. You're always someone who's kind of looking for different things to do. And I will say one thing about this Pluto and Neptune energy. There were some negative things, but I'm not trying to mention anything negative when I say this. The thing about Neptune and Pluto energy is it kind of brought upon a lot of scientific racism and social Darwinism. So it's like apartheid and Jim Crow laws and things like that, like the belief that one race is more superior than the other. So what Neptune and Pluto can do is it can bring you very, very strong beliefs, which whether those beliefs are right or wrong, that's, I guess that's up for God or something, or the universe to decide. So your ancestors believe that you're somebody who has strong faith, somebody who has strong beliefs, somebody who has just a way and a system of thinking that they're kind of like sure, I guess that makes them sure of themselves in a way. Like it's just saying, this is strongly what I believe. Like you're putting a lot of power into your beliefs and you're letting your beliefs guide you. Kind of like how I said earlier with the High Priestess. I love how everything's just like flowing together. Like sometimes I'm like, maybe I should just pull 2 or 3 cards, because it's like everything's represented in like a small amount of cards, which is why I don't pull a lot, because I'm like, I could read from 2 or 3, but I'm blabbing on. Anyway, essentially, it's just representing have a strong belief when it comes to how you move in the world, believing in some sort of higher system and just having a strong connection to that belief and letting it guide you and your decisions and in the way that you interact with others. Now, for some people, because like I mentioned earlier, that 10% that may be a little bit more combative, this can represent like imposing your beliefs on someone else or imposing your way of thinking on someone else for a small group of people. And then for others, it just means that you want to connect with a smaller group of people who's going to believe the things that you believe, who's going to be connected to spirituality and higher belief systems and, tarot, astrology, anything esoteric, occult that you're into, like wanting to keep that tight-knit circle, like I said before. But like I said, you are open to discovering new things. So there is an openness to you. It's not like you're completely just closed off. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got the 5 at all. Because 5, it represents change, like we said before. But I think your ancestors want you to open up a little bit more. keep a wider set of beliefs. Or don't like prejudge things. Don't prejudge things. If you're prejudging things, you know, don't do it. But if you're not, you know, I guess keep not doing that, right? And then I think the last thing I want to say is that this can also represent like fighting for people who may not even appreciate it, you know? That's the last thing I want to say. Like, you're trying to help someone out and they just don't care, or they don't say thanks or anything along the lines of that. So you may do things for others without expecting anything in return, and just out of like the kindness of your heart. Because the thing about this era is, I believe there was a rise in labor unions, and so going on strikes and getting better conditions. And so this is you sort of like fighting for people who may not speak up, or who just may not appreciate you speaking up, or even like doing things for people who may not necessarily just be grateful for it. Their response is probably like something, well, I never asked you to do that, or something like that. But that's the thing here with all of this. And, you know, there's a lot going on here, you know, with astrology and everything, and all these deep insights that we can go on about. You know, I think we already talked about the spiritual depth that connects to the high priestess, and having like wanting to explore metaphysical realms and understanding life's mysteries. That was like number 1, but Neptune and Pluto also represent wanting to explore life's mysteries. So a lot of these themes kind of are just repeating in a way. It would just be me saying like the same things over and over again, because bracing change and things like that is what we got here. But that is what I have for you, pile number 1. This was very long, but I had so much to say because your ancestors have a lot to say about you. And they do think you're brilliant because, like I said, this is innovation. So they really do think that you have some powerful insights, and that you really are connecting through spirit and just letting it move through you. Maybe you should write like a book or something. Either way, that is what I have for you, pile number 1. And I will see you next time. If this card, pile, didn't resonate, feel free to choose a different pile. Or maybe I'm not the reader for you. Either way, I'm happy you stopped by. Au revoir. Hey, pal, number 2. Let's get started on your reading and what your ancestors think of you. We have the 2 of Cups, the Page of Pentacles, the 10 of Wands, the Devil, and Saturn and Venus. Let's see if that is interesting. So, we know for sure your ancestors believe that you are somebody who is very much deserving of deep and fulfilling relationships. And not only are you deserving of deep and fulfilling relationships, you are someone who is very empathetic and very open and an active listener, and someone who very much is, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess very connected to others and the people around them. You just have this openness for others, like this ability to empathize and connect with other people. And this is what your ancestors are observing about you. They believe that you're somebody who is more than worthy of unconditional love and support. And not only are you more than worthy, but you may even be a little bit of a romantic, because I usually get the Two of Cups if it's like describing someone's personality. You know, it's like somebody who loves love, and there's nothing wrong with loving love. It's a great thing to love, right? Me personally, I love a lot of, you know, romantic comedies, or just, it doesn't have to be a romantic comedy. It could just be a regular romance film. But I can often see that with Venus and Saturn, which people don't think about that when you see that combo, because Saturn is known to have like a heavier, oppressive energy. But if you actually look at a lot of romance movies, a lot of Saturnian people, a lot of Saturnian women in particular, sometimes men, are the stars of like a lot of romance movies, you know, like The Notebook or something like that, or Anna Karenina. I'm trying to think of like some of my favorites. What is it? What's the one? Is it 17 Dresses or 21 Dresses? Whatever. I can't remember. Knocked Up, Notting Hill, like very like Saturnian type of energy. So very lot of famous movies like that. So when I see this combination, I know this represents, you could be someone who's just a bit of a romantic, someone who takes love very seriously and is open to finding the right person if you already haven't, and somebody who truly values commitment. And they really do see how you bring a lot of warmth and compassion to other people around you. Another thing that your ancestors observe about you is that you can tend to be a friendly person. Sometimes I can get the Page of Swords and the Ten of Wands to represent kind of like maybe talking a little bit too much. But it's good, because the Page of Swords is somebody who like wants to get to know people. It's kind of like reiterating these things here, wanting to get to know people, wanting to learn a lot, wanting to gain a lot of information at once, having like a deep intellectual curiosity for the world, and or certain skills, or even certain niches, whatever the case may be. But the Page of Swords is dedicated to their mental and emotional growth too, because the swords can represent emotional intelligence. But you're dedicated to growing mentally and wanting to expand your mind. So they feel like you're somebody who takes learning very seriously and wants to evolve over time. They feel like you're somebody who 100% has a strong sense of direction, especially with the 10 of Wands here. And then I can also get that for Saturn and Venus, because Venus can be sort of like this business woman, and Saturn is obviously like the 10th house energy. So it's like very focused, very like, this is my purpose, this is my goal. And when we get here, it's like we have you, or at least your ancestors are viewing you as being heavily committed to accomplishing your goals, especially with the Devil card here. A lot of times we see the Devil card and it can connect with a lot of themes of, you know, boundaries and oppression. And, you know, that may be part of it, which we may get into that later. But one thing it does connect with is the sign of Capricorn, which is similar to that Saturnian energy, because Saturn rules Capricorn, right? And Capricorn's at the top of the chart. So whenever I see like this Venus, Saturn, Capricorn vibes going on here, I know that connects to being very ambitious. And me personally, I've met like plenty of people who have Venus in the 10th house, and they're always striving to achieve more and like sort of network and rise in their career. And they have like just a strong purpose for wanting to get to the level that they want to achieve, okay? They're very much like career men and career women, like pretty much what you expect when I say that statement, because you have some people who aren't that career focused, right? But this placement can represent that. So that, even if you're not somebody who has a career, then this would be like you being very goal oriented oriented. What's the next goal? What's the next thing I can check off my to-do list or my bucket list? Or once you accomplish one thing, you're like, okay, what can I do next? What can I like scratch off next? So your ancestors view you as this type of person who is always trying to accomplish the next big thing. And you may have just such a passion for life and the world around you that you may find yourself taking on a lot of responsibilities or work. And honestly, your ancestors feel like you're a little bit overworked. And don't take this the wrong way, but you may be working a little too hard, because sometimes we get the 10 of Wands. And remember how I was talking about that devil energy can be very like we're bound to, or stuck with something that's not like ideal, or in a situation that's not where we typically want to be at in the long run. This can also represent sort of like workaholic energy. This, and this coming together can be like, you work too much. You probably need to take a break. And I think your ancestors are seeing that in you. Even like they know that you have such a strong commitment to personal growth, and they believe that that's all inspiring and everything. And you may have so many ideas and so many goals that you want to get done, but you're trying to do them all at once. And your ancestors believe that this may cause some burnout for you, or it's just not healthy in the long run. They want you to be a little bit more, what's the word? I guess structured in a way, but like it's not saying that, they're not saying you're disorganized or anything. They're more like saying that you're just taking on too much, and they want you to think about things in a more realistic manner. Like Saturn and Venus coming together is like, how can I control my passions, or how can I learn to ensure that I am doing all the things that I want to do, but not overworking myself or overwhelming myself in a way. Like, how can I make sure everything is getting done in a timely manner, but I'm also getting things done, and I'm not like dropping the ball in certain areas because, you know, I have to pay more attention to this thing or that thing, etc. So that's something that your ancestors are sort of wishing for you, because they believe that you are such a hard worker. Like, this is like the combination of somebody who is extremely hardworking, putting in so much effort, and putting in like the time to constantly grow and evolve. And it's like every step you take gets you closer to your goals. But sometimes, because you take on too much, it's like you're moving a lot slower than you could be, and you're feeling a lot more weight than you need to feel. Okay? But I feel like I've said everything I need to say on that, like with your ancestors. So let's move on. I don't want to keep harping on. They just need you to like pull back a little bit, just because they want you to keep going. They know how powerful you are. They know how resilient you are. They know how much you're capable of. At least this is how they feel about you. But they're just like, it's too much. It's too much right now. It reminds me of something Tyler Perry said, where he obviously had all these ideas. Like when he was first coming up and he was doing his plays and stuff, he said, I had tons and tons of ideas. But he said, I knew I couldn't do them all at one time. I had to stick to the thing basically that people thought he was good at, which was in the beginning, it was his plays, right? That's how he got known. Like, you would get like this old school rundown, like video or DVD of Tyler Perry's plays. Like he really spread by word of mouth. Like, I remember Tyler Perry on the come up, and people would like trade his DVDs at churches and like meetings and, you know, in the community and things like that. And they would talk about like, Medea, have you seen the latest Medea play? Have you seen this latest Medea play? Right? Anyway, so people were people liked him because of his plays, right? And he grew into movies. And then he got his own movie studio, and now he does a whole bunch of different businesses. But he said he knew that he couldn't do everything he wanted to do and love at once and have the same amount of success. And that's kind of true. That is 100% true. When you are doing a lot of various different things at once, it's not saying that you can't be successful, but it gets a little bit harder to move as fast as you want to move if you are carrying this heavy load of like 5 billion different passions, right? And that's this 10 of Wands energy here. It's like you're carrying all these passions and you're trying to get everything done, but you move a lot slower with all these wands on your back, with all these things on your back. You need to, we don't need to, but it would be great if you could drop a few things and pick up the pace, if you can. If you can. You may just be in a period where you have to carry things for a little bit. The thing about the Devil card here, we're just going to say one more thing, is the Devil card can represent having like a limiting mindset or a scarcity mindset. The Devil card is a card where it's about fear. It's about the scary unknown. It's about addiction and obsession and feeling like you are bound or stuck into a certain way or pattern of being, because this is what you're used to, or this is how things have always been, or this is just the information you know, because sometimes people stick to the reality that they know because it's easy and they're too scared to move forward, or their thinking is like, it's so negative. It's such a scarcity mindset of like, nothing's really going to change, or this thing bad will happen if I do this, or something along the lines of, I don't think I can do this, or I don't think things are going to work out the way I want to. If I do this, things along the lines of that. Or I'm like, for example, like, if you're really, really like, let's say addicted to something, and it could be anything. Let's say you're addicted to juice. You're like, I love apple juice, right? And your doctor says, hey, you can't drink all this apple juice, you'll get diabetes, etc. And you're just like, ugh, I love apple juice. My life is incomplete without apple juice. Like, I don't know how I'm going to survive without apple juice. I can't just give up apple juice. Like, it's just very much this Devil card mentality. It's this mentality that your life is lacking in meaningful and fulfillment without this one thing. And it's just not true. There are certain things that you can just give up and that you can just leave behind, and your ancestors would love if you could leave these things behind. It doesn't have to be the example of like apple juice or something that I gave. It could just be a way of thought, or it could be a certain pattern of behavior. If you have a certain pattern of behavior where you tend to take on the responsibility of other people, where you tend to overwork yourself, or you may have, negative thoughts, or if you're somebody who can get yourself like really worked up or really stressed out in a way, if you take on too many commitments, if you are someone who, just pushes yourself to your breaking point or to your limit, now it's time to give that thing up. And then sometimes the 10 of Wands can represent being somebody who doesn't like to give up. Who doesn't like to give up on things that just aren't good for them. Like, they hold on to things for so long. And it's just like, why are you still carrying that thing from 20 years ago? You still own the same pair of shoes. You can't even wear those pair of shoes. They're worn out. Like, it's like you're carrying on this baggage from like relationships, attitudes, people, items. The 10 of Wands can represent someone being like a hoarder or something. I said I was moving on, but like I just had a lot to say about that energy because your ancestors wanted to talk about that really quick. Because they really want you to let that go. They really do. Because you are so powerful. You have so much going for you. You are so accomplished. You are so skilled. You are so smart. You are so capable. And you deserve all the things that you are pushing so hard for. But you need to stop being so hard on yourself. And you need to like let go of a few things and unleash this load, because it's just dragging your energy down. Okay. I just want to say that. Your ancestors find you to definitely be more of a pragmatic person. I want to say that. People don't say this enough about the devil card, but the devil card is ultimately somebody who likes to make realistic decisions based on the circumstances that they're in, rather than this sense of idealism. Same with this Venus and Saturn energy. It's about understanding, being able to balance functionality with creativity. It's like, okay, I want to be an artist, but I don't want to starve to death. So I'm going to work a job. It's kind of like when people go to LA and they want to be movie stars or singers or rock stars, whatever it is, but they recognize that they need a job. They need to pay their bills in the meantime. So even if you have these, like, let's say you're like something like that, I just gave the example, a creative person, you recognize that, hey, you actually still need to work a job. You actually still need to pay your bills and make sure that you have enough money to get around and get health insurance and, things along the lines of that. You still have these practical needs that you need to take care of in order for you to keep going and function in a proper way. They feel like you're somebody who's very strategic, that you're always that you have your long-term goals in mind always, especially with this devil and Capricorn energy, that you're somebody who just has this strong vision of the future. So strong. And they really do feel like you can be financially stressed, savvy. Sometimes I can get this with these cards here as being a little bit too strict when it comes to your budget. Maybe or like the opposite, because sometimes this can represent like, it depends on the growth. Okay, sometimes when we're early on in life, usually Saturn and Venus early on, it can represent somebody who has issues with spending. Like they may spend too much money, or they may spend their money on things that just don't have long-term value. And then when they get older, usually this combination can represent somebody who's pretty good with money, but it can go in different directions where they can end up with this scarcity mindset where they are keeping track of every dime, every penny, and they're being very, very cheap. And they're very scared to spend money on things that may be just seen as like a pleasurable experience or a nice experience, like staying at a 5-star hotel. They're like, oh no, that's too expensive. Let's pick this, motel out here in this location here because we'll save money, and then right? So it can make somebody very, very cheap, or it can make somebody just very good financially savvy. So for some of you, your ancestors are like, I need you to splurge a little bit. And then the other part of you is the ancestors just feel like, yeah, I think that you're pretty good financially and savvy, but don't be as strict. I guess it's the same message. Like, it's just to what degree, right? It depends on what degree you are. Give yourself a little wiggle room financially. I also want to say, because you're a person who really takes commitments seriously and relationships very, very seriously, there's a possibility that you may be putting more into relationships than you're getting out. And this is what your ancestors are saying. And you may not have people who truly sort of appreciate you all the time within relationships. I'm not saying every single relationship you have is like this, but then this may happen sometimes. And what I want to say about this is, don't be afraid of letting people go, and don't be afraid of them letting you go. Because if it's not right for you, then it's just not right for you. If someone is moving on from a relationship and they want to end a relationship with you, don't be afraid to let them go. And likewise, if you want to in a relationship with someone else and you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel like there's a strong enough connection, do not be afraid to let them go. With this devil card energy, it can definitely represent having a very insecure attachment style, and thus it gives this placement where sometimes people are afraid to leave. They're afraid to leave because they think they'll find anyone better, or they don't want to be alone, or some other sort of reason that could be there. I'm not a psychiatrist, but so these are just the things that I have seen and observed. But don't be afraid to get out of any relationship you don't want to be in, and don't be afraid if somebody wants to no longer be with you. You know, it's fine. There's just way better options out there for you with this Saturn and Venus placement. The thing about it is, you know, it can represent having to go through a lot of trials and tribulations in love and romance, but at the same time, it can give such a powerful, strong, committed relationship, an extremely rewarding relationship, one that just feels like all your dreams are coming true and your wildest fantasies are coming true. Because the thing about Saturn, even though we focus on the heaviness of Saturn, is the fact that Saturn rules the 11th house, the house of hopes and wishes and dreams and fulfillment, right? So it may have this heavy aspect to it, but it is a planet that is there to essentially grant your wishes and make sure things come true. And so when we have it with the planet of love, your ancestors are letting you know that your love, your dreams, your wishes that you have when it comes to the relationships that you want to form, romantic, platonically, can come true, and they can happen. You do not have to cling to situations that just aren't a suitable fit for you, or cling to people who just aren't right for you in a way. Even though you have a lot of great qualities, because what this policy shows me is that you are somebody who's just very relationship oriented and committed. I'm not talking about like, oh, you have to be in a relationship. I mean, like, you value people when I say relationship oriented. Another thing this can be is, as I was mentioning before, when we talk about Saturn and Venus, we do have to talk a little bit about self-worth, because especially with the devil here, this can represent like struggling with self-worth and self-value, and always trying to look for validation for others. Maybe not always, but having moments where you look for validation for others, from others, when it's not necessary. Your ancestors want to let you know that you can validate yourself. You are amazing yourself. You really don't need to look for someone else to determine your value. You have value. You are valuable. You are worthy. You really don't need to hear that from anybody else but yourself. If anybody's telling you otherwise, they're just a liar. It's just not real. It's just not true. Don't give into those fears. Don't give into those thoughts. So your ancestors want you to know that you are valuable. You are somebody who brings a lot of quality to the people around you. You just have such a mature perspective when it comes to forming connections with others, or even, like I said, accomplishing your goals and things along the lines of that, and how you decide to shape your responsibilities and choose to get things done. You have just a very practical mindset. And that's important. It's important that you have this intelligent way about looking at the world that is realistic and sound, and grounded. Like, you just have a very grounded perspective. And also that intellectual curiosity is really going to take you far, because it's really expanding your mind and opening your horizons in ways that you can never imagine. You may have some tough decisions coming up when it comes to your goals or your accomplishments coming up soon. But your ancestors want you to know that ultimately this decision that you make, you know, when you have to make it, it doesn't really, how do I say it? I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying that you're going to end up exactly where you deserve to end up. And your ancestors believe that you deserve a lot more than what you're getting now. But they believe that you deserve the world. They believe that you deserve great things. So don't be worried about this decision that's coming up, or the pressures that are happening right now. And maybe even certain environments that you are in that aren't comfortable. They're letting you know that this is just a period of having to grind things out. They're letting you know it's a period of that, but that wish fulfillment is coming. That's the message they want to get. That had nothing to do with what they think of you, but they just want you to know that. And I think that is the overall thing that we have to, that they need to get out to you, or at least all that I can interpret. Maybe another reader can, interpret more, find more energy and pull from your ancestors and give you more messages. But until then, I do hope to see you for the next reading. I really appreciate you stopping by. If this isn't the pile for you, don't resonate with it, feel free to choose a different pile, or you could choose a different reader, as I mentioned before. Now, that is what I have for you. Au revoir. Hey, pal, number 3. Let's get started on your reading and what your ancestors think of you. We have Force, which is strength. The 8 of Pentacles, the 8 of Swords, the 10 of Swords, the 5 of Pentacles. What's going on here, pal? Number 3. And Jupiter and Saturn. Okay. Maybe your ancestors feel like you're being very hard on yourself because you have been through a lot. Whenever I go to see the Strength card here, it's like you've gone through several different obstacles and plenty of challenges that have caused you to have to even put on this strong layer, or even maybe you can't allow yourself to be vulnerable because you have been in circumstances where that didn't particularly work out. Maybe people have been nasty towards you. Maybe people you thought you trusted. Whatever the case may be. Strength card is there to represent that, hey, I've been through some BS situations. I've been through the hard knocks of life, okay? Have taught me plenty of lessons with the Strength card here. And that's how your ancestors see you. They see you as somebody who is this resilient person, which makes sense because when we have this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, Jupiter and Saturn coming together, amplifies resilience, because Saturn is the planet of resilience and that struggle and strife type of energy. And it's when Jupiter comes together with it, it expands that. Just think of like all the things that kind of went on, the energy of like, we had the great conjunction in 2020 when we were going through the pandemic, and think of all that energy, that resilience that it took from everyone in the world to have to come together and isolate and social distance and change the way that we do things. It was a lot, like a lot. People really went through some treacherous situations. And the same thing happened during the time of the Black Plague. We had another Jupiter and Saturn conjunction. So things were heavy. And what this lets me know is that you've been through some heavy things, and your ancestors are acknowledging that. They're saying you have been through some very turbulent times. Sometimes that involved a lot of transformation, a lot of change, a lot of challenges, a lot of strife, a lot of resistance, a lot of things not going your way, and even situations that can possibly even be traumatic, which makes sense if we have the 8 of Swords and the 10 of Swords. Because the thing about the 8 of Swords, we focus so much on how this card, or at least I focused a lot on how this card was not speaking up or confused or in this place where they felt trapped by their own thoughts and things along the lines of that. But it's important to ask why. Why is the 8 of Swords in this position where they are trapped with their own thoughts, where they feel like they can't express themselves, where they feel like they're going to be persecuted or shot down if they ask for something, or they feel like maybe other people aren't going to be supportive. And just think of where the Eight of Swords comes from. It comes from the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is about, thievery and sneaking around and being dishonest and being deceptive and, betrayal and lies. Like, of course, this person is going to be this Eight of Swords energy. Of course, they're going to be in this negative headspace where they're like, who can I trust? Because I've just come out of a situation where things have just been absolutely horrifying. People who I trusted, I couldn't rely on, or betrayed me, or they weren't who I thought they were. I've had to, fend for myself. I've had to go it alone. I haven't received that emotional support. I haven't had anyone there to fully embrace me and accept me for who I am. I have had my secrets told, the things can go on and on and on, right? There's been so many situations that these two cards alone represent. And your ancestors see that. They see that you've been through a lot of different situations where maybe you've had people bully you, say bad things about you, have displayed negative behaviors towards you, be very condescending, being nasty, questioning you in a way that's like very, what's the word? Condescending or rude, or somebody might question if you're lazy or your intelligence or something like that. Like that's some Seven of Swords type of energy, right? That very like kind of nasty, mean energy. And so you may have been in those situations where somebody has just not treated you kindly and with the respect that you deserve. And that's what your ancestors are viewing you as. They're viewing as somebody who has suffered, who has been through things, especially with this Ten of Swords. Now, one thing though about the Ten of Swords is that it can represent that sometimes we are being too wrapped up in our thoughts and things aren't as bad as they seem. This doesn't say things aren't bad and that you haven't been through, hell and back, but things aren't as bad as they seem. And I think that's true, especially when we get to this Five of Pentacles on the end. What we have here is that you've been through tough times and it's led you to this thinking pattern where it can tend to be expecting the worst, or, you don't have high expectations for people or things or situations. This can be a very like a defeatist sort of attitude, feeling like, things are going to always be this way, so I might as well accept it. Or I'm never going to find someone who I can trust, or who will love me, or who I can love, or I'm never going to get the house of my dreams or the job of my dreams. Like it can be very negative thinking with the Ten of Swords here. This can represent very like down, depressed, very solemn type of energy with these cards, okay? So what your ancestors want, and they want you to see, is that things aren't as bad as they seem, as I was saying before. That even though you've been through some hard times and you've been through a lot and you've picked yourself up so many times and you have dusted off your boots, pulled yourself up by your bootstraps and kept going for so long and it seems endless, what they want you to know is that you do have it in you to keep going, and that things are more than likely going to have a turnaround period soon. Because when we have this Five of Pentacles reversed, it's almost like a little bit of a reversal of fortune. It's almost like saying like, okay, I'm starting to get some money coming in. I'm no longer, like, maybe not, it doesn't have to be money. It could be love, affection, attention. It could be acceptance, things along the lines of that. I'm starting to get, but I'm using money as an example because it's like easy. I'm starting to get some money coming in. I'm starting to get some feedback from the job market. This would be like, oh my gosh, I've been unemployed for so long. And it doesn't seem like I'll ever find the right job or the right fit for me. Then we get to this Five of Pentacles energy and it's like, oh, finally, I am getting some things that I need. Finally, things are starting to come my way. Finally, I'm starting to get recruiters seeking me out. I'm starting to get some interviews. I'm starting to talk to people. I might even be getting some side hustle or job opportunities. Like, for example, for me, like I was just complaining last week about my laptop. Well, I guess I wasn't complaining, but I was frustrated, right? Because it broke. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to pay all this money in my head, like trying to calculate things. But then I get an opportunity to do a family member's makeup, and it's an opportunity that came away, and I can now put it towards my new laptop fund, because that's now less money I have to spend, because now I have this opportunity. So now I finally get some money coming in, some unexpected money, and my situation starts to look a little bit brighter, right, towards that laptop fund. That is what your ancestors want you to know, that things are going to shift a little bit. I mean, they're going to shift in a great way overall, because we have this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction, but they're saying, like, for right now, things are going to start to slowly shift soon, where you're going to start to finally pick up the pace. Not finally pick up the pace, but things are finally going to start picking up the pace, and this Ten of Swords energy, it's coming to an end, okay? You don't have to be in this realm of depletion or exhaustion, you know, things along the lines of that, the Ten of Swords. Because sometimes Ten of Swords is like, I'm just mentally drained. I'm mentally exhausted. I can't take any more of this stress and this life and da-da-da-da. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like things have just beaten you down so bad. Overall, what your ancestors think of you, besides being someone who may have been down on their luck and who have had to fight their way, is that you're a very caring person. I always get the 8 and the 10 of Swords to represent somebody who cares a lot for other people and what they think, and they consider their feelings. There's a level of empathy there, and a level of emotional intelligence, which I think we can get from this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction here. Because if you think about the time of the pandemic, a lot of people had more time to reflect and think about their lives and who they were, and discover themselves more, and where they've been going, and how they want to switch things and move in a different direction, or if they do want to move in a different direction, or maybe they want to keep the same direction. But there was more time to self-reflect, and when you have more time to self-reflect, you have more time to develop as a person, which involves developing your emotional intelligence. Part of that emotional intelligence is being in tune with your own feelings. And this is what this represents. When we have this 8 of Swords and this 10 of Swords, even if they can be in a challenging or a suffering type of headspace, they're still in tune with those emotions. And they're acknowledging the hurt, they're acknowledging the pain, they're acknowledging the suffering. They may not be acknowledging some other things, but they are still acknowledging those emotions. So your ancestors feel like you're somebody who's really in tune with your emotions, and possibly even the emotions of others. I really do think that when I see these cards. I can see this as being somebody who is compassionate and understanding. With the 5 of Swords reversed, it's like, even if you don't have anything, you're willing to offer it to other people. Like, you're like, hey, I don't have much to give, but, you know, I can still do my best to, you know, give you this small amount. You know what I mean? It's like if you only had a quarter, but somebody only has a dime, you know, you're like, I can still give you like a couple of pennies here, right? So even if you're in a bad place, you still try to give to other people. And your ancestors love that about you. The fact that you have this amazing ability to give and to try to uplift others, even when you're in a bad position, even when you're facing challenges. And then another thing about this 5 of Pentacles reverse is it can represent finding value in the things that cannot be measured. So in personal relationships, in connections with other people, it represents prioritizing that closeness to other people over any sort of monetary gains. Which makes sense, especially with this Force card, because that's all about like feeling that sense of comfort and taking care of another being. And so your ancestors feel like you're somebody who makes time for the people that you care about, who prioritizes those relationships, who tries to find a balance, and who really does care about how their friends and their family members are doing. One thing that I want to say here is that this can also represent you being like open-minded, and maybe like more open-minded to things that may typically might be rejected by society. Like for an example, and this doesn't have to be you, you may not be accepting of this, like polyamorous relationships, that's typically not seen as the norm within society. But when I see the Five of Pentacles reverse and the Jupiter and Saturn, that can be representative of open-mindedness. And so that might be something that's like, okay, I see how other people might not be accepting of that, but I think that's fine, or something like that. It doesn't have to be that specific thing, but that's something to think about. How you might be more accepting to things that other people may not be accepting of, which makes sense because when we're talking about the lack of material things, we're talking about being open to spirituality, which obviously cannot be measured and cannot be, doesn't really need anything physical to connect with. Like I'm using tarot cards to physically connect, kind of physically connect with spirit, but I technically don't need to, right? But, so it could just mean that you're open to, you know, higher belief, spirituality, things that are unconventional in that manner. Open-minded to other people's belief systems and their religions and things along the lines of that, because these two cards together can represent someone who is craving knowledge, craving information, and wanting to expand their mind, especially when it comes to people's beliefs and, you know, politics and religion and spirituality, just wanting to grow and develop in that area. Whether that's, you know, Jupiter and Saturn conjunct, or Jupiter Saturn opposition, or trine or square, whatever the case may be, usually that's the type of person who's going to want to understand different perspectives. And I think I remember when I put in my Jupiter and Saturn great conjunction video, this is a while back, right? 2020. I talked about how people in this chart, naturally, this conjunction, they tend to shift their political beliefs or their religious beliefs over time. Usually the childhood belief system that they start off with, they don't carry fully into their death, right? Like at some point in their adulthood, they change it. So I just want to put that in mind. So that what that says about you is that you may be somebody who is open to change their beliefs. Doesn't have to be religious. It could be like, you know, some sort of belief system like, this is a good one. It's a common thing people say, like, there's somebody out there for everyone, right? That's a common belief that people might have. But you may find, like, as life goes on, you may find yourself not believing that. You may find yourself believing that, actually, I think there's not someone out there for everyone, and I think everyone should put more effort into being a more balanced partner so that they can find someone who might be the best fit for them. Like that would be like a shift in perspective and a shift in beliefs, right? And so they see you as somebody being open-minded to changing your way of thought and your way of thinking, and being accepting of other people who may have very creative or innovative thinking and ideas. I think with this can also feel like your ancestors feel like you might keep a very close-knit group of friends with this. I know when we think of Jupiter and Saturn, we think of expansion, but all of the times that they kind of come together, they kind of restrict people's access to each other. So ultimately, your ancestors feel like you're somebody who's going to be a little bit more introverted, someone who may not have a huge, large group of friends, but the people that you keep close to you, you really keep... Ooh, sorry guys, my phone went off. I guess that's a sign that things are going right. It always goes off when like I'm like doing the reading. It doesn't do this naturally. I don't get a whole bunch of alerts and stuff. Just want to say that you may just keep a tight group of people that you care about and you think about. So that's something to focus on. Sorry, that's something to think about. Trying to make sure it's turned off completely. And then I guess the last thing I sort of want to mention with this reading is that your ancestors feel like you're somebody who is very much deserving of closeness, love, respect, and success. And that you have all of these great qualities in you, like being socially aware, like being fair to others and trying to treat everyone well and being accepting to people who may be typically outsiders, that you like being willing to grow, like being open-minded to innovation and being creative. Like they feel like you have all of this in you. And also they feel like you're somebody who is highly skilled. They just don't want you to be so like down on yourself or think too negatively about things, especially if you're in a tough situation right now. They really do feel like things are going to start to improve for the better. Okay? Just want to say that. But yeah. Oh, and then you also have a sense of like rebellious type of energy to you. Okay? I want to say that like almost like a rebellious spirit, like you can't be tied down. You can't be pinpointed. You do your own thing. And it's not to say you don't have overall confidence. You don't have any confidence. It's just like there's certain areas of life that maybe you're being too down and hard on yourself. And your ancestors want that to stop. And then also they feel like you're somebody who doesn't mind just picking up and leaving and moving to the next job. Some people stick at jobs for like very long periods in time, but since we have this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, this is about being open to shifts, being open to changes. And so your ancestors feel like you're the type of person who is very much open to change your environment, change your job, change your location, like very much open to all of that energy. And I'm very curious. You might be very into history too. That's just saying that because we have this, this card, which is connected to Leo, and then Jupiter and Saturn, they can represent sort of like somebody being very much like a history buff in a way. And so your ancestors may feel like you have a good amount of knowledge about history, how history impacts present day, social, economic, cultural events. You may be up on your knowledge when it comes to that. And I guess you just come across as an open person. Like that's what your ancestors see you as. Open person who, even if you keep a tight-knit group of friends, it's because you need people around that you know you can trust because you've been through so many situations that weren't exactly the right fit. Anyway, that is what I have for you now, and pile number 3. Hopefully that resonates. If not, feel free to choose another pile, or you could choose another reader. Either way, I'm so happy you stopped by, and I will see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pile number 4. Let's get started on what your ancestors think of you. We have the 6 of Wands, the 9 of Wands, Judgment, the Empress, and Jupiter and Pluto. Okay. I love how we have the Pluto aspect coming in twice. That is good. With the Judgment card and the Jupiter and Pluto. They think you're a pretty powerful person who makes pretty good decisions. At least that's what your ancestors are feeling. They feel like you're someone who has a lot of confidence and can take care of themselves and goes after what they want and has a strong sense of direction and charm to their personality as well. Definitely someone who can go the distance, who can be resilient, who isn't going to let life get them down. You're going to go all the way to the finish line when it comes to getting what you want. You're just nonstop in that way. And what I love, and what your ancestors love, we both equally love, is that you continue to grow and you continue to evolve. Because the thing about the Judgment card, you see this woman rising from the ashes and the phoenix in the background. It's about evolution. It's about growth. It's about not staying the same. It's about transformation. It's about all those Pluto type energy themes that we see coming up. And with this Jupiter conjunct Pluto, it's always about expanding and growing in terms of who you are as a person, how you develop your character, your personality, your emotional strengths, intelligence, landscapes, your experiences, your thoughts, your perspectives. They're always growing and changing and evolving. How you evaluate things, how you connect to people. You're a person who is full of constant growth. And because of that, you have a lot of wisdom and you have a lot of experience. When we have this Jupiter conjunct Pluto energy coming here, that can also represent like an expansion of, how do I say this? An expansion of challenging experience. In astrology, Pluto obviously connects to the 8th house, and 8th house is seen as one of the malefic houses because it's about emergency situations, about situations you have no control over that could happen at any point that can be really just have the rug pulled from under you. You see a lot of astrologers have those placements because they'll have like these dark night of the soul experiences that will transform them and take them into the world of astrology. Like they'll have some really out of the box experiences that will lead them here, right? And that can be anywhere from like some sort of spiritual awakening to childhood trauma to, different experiences you may have had over the years that have affected your experiences and the way that you view and perceive the world. Like you'll see a lot. Sometimes you see Jupiter conjunct Pluto to represent somebody who has a lot of trauma. I'm just going to be frank about it. So I'm not necessarily saying that to you, but it's a possibility with this card coming up here. And with trauma comes wisdom. It kind of reminds me of when I was watching this movie with a friend. What is it? Never Been Kissed. And, when you first watch the movie, it's real cutesy, but when you look back on it, it's very problematic. And you start to see how, because she had a lot of these experiences of when she was being bullied in her high school years, she was able to protect her friend from, I guess, being humiliated at prom because she was able to anticipate the bullying because she had been through something similar. So therein lies the wisdom when you have the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction, because you may have been in situations that have been, wild, out of your control, upsetting, shocking, caught you off guard because you've been in these situations and you've had this huge array of knowledge. And I'm sorry to focus on the trauma. I'm going to get to like some other areas soon. But you may have this whole array of knowledge. You're able to protect others from those same experience. And you're able to spread your wisdom and your thoughts and your knowledge. And this can also represent just having a lot of spiritual knowledge. As I said, a lot of astrologers will have like Jupiter in the 8th house or something along the lines of that. Or like a strong Pluto placement. And Jupiter and Pluto would be like a strong Pluto placement as well. Because it's like amplifying Pluto. Especially if it was like something in the 1st house. But essentially, just a lot of occult knowledge, a lot of occult wisdom, something that you study and put your focus and total passion and energy into. And then another thing this can be is your ancestors feel that you're someone who just has a very philosophical way of thinking. Like you want to think deeper and go deeper when it comes to figuring out things, thinking about things. And you have this champion-like personality where you feel like you deserve to get the things that you want. And you probably do deserve to get the things that you want. I love that you are just like going for it full full force and putting your passion in everything you have into achieving what you want to and desire in this lifetime. Especially with the Empress here, they feel like you have such a beautiful soul that you really try to look at things from other people's perspective, that you're a considerate person, you're kind, you're open, you're loving, you're someone who is capable of giving and receiving love. And even if you may have your defenses up sometimes, when you open up, it is just like this outpouring of intense love and care is what I see here. You're very protective of the people that you care about, especially with this Nine of Wands energy coming. And that's how they see you, this very protective like force here. And that there's a sense of optimism that you see when you have this Six of Wands and this Judgment card here, because you have to be optimistic when you have Judgment, because Judgment's all about like renewal and seeing a brighter day and moving on to the next venture and being able to grow and push yourself and propel yourself forward. That's what it's talking about here. It's all about you being able to look at the bigger picture, see your rights, see your wrongs, see where other people have wronged you, where other people have done great things for you, and just let it go and say, you know what, it's time for me to move on to the next chapter. Let's close out this one and let's move on to the next one. That being said, Judgment also represents forgiveness. It represents you being just like a forgiving, loving person, especially next to the Empress here. We can see this as Venus conjunct Scorpio. And one thing I do see about people who have Venus conjunct Scorpio, you know what? They can be very protective of their finances and things like that. But one thing that's good about them is they can, this is stereotypical, but they can be extremely loyal. Like, like through ups and downs, they may be like, there's nothing this person can do to shake my love for them. Like, I've just seen that with people who have Venus in Scorpio. Not all the time, but like, they may not even describe themselves that way, but I've seen it. They will be someone who will strongly care for and really, really stick to someone like they care about. Like if this is somebody they feel like they care about with their whole heart, they're like, I'm not gonna give this person up, okay? Just a lot of emotional intensity, needing a lot of deep passion within your relationships. And one thing about you is that you're someone, as I mentioned before, you're someone who has gone through some challenges, and you're still going through challenges right here, but you persevere. You're the type of person who gets up in the morning and you say, I'm still out here, I'm still doing what I need to do. And this is how your ancestors see you. They see you as constantly having to battle and stay determined with on your path. Whew, that's a tongue twister for me. Stay determined on your path. That you remind yourself constantly how strong you are, how tough you are, how determined you are, you are just that woman, you're just that man, you're that person who's like, I can get the job done. Nothing is going to make me give up. If I want it, I'm going to get it. That is how your ancestors are viewing you. It's like you go stronger and you grow wiser every single day. Every single day, you're like evolving. And that is like incredible. It really is. Like, you really need to pat yourself on the back. The fact that you have so much resilience and you've had so many amazing victories and so many things that you've accomplished. And your ancestors see you as this amazing, accomplished person. They see you as this person who has a lot to offer the world, who is deserving of praise, is deserving of applause, is deserving of respect. They see that you are somebody who they feel like people should look up to and admire and can be inspiring for other people. Your ancestors feel like you're a very inspiring person. They feel like you're a brave person, especially with that Jupiter and Pluto conjunction. That's going to amplify some like emergency situations and the amount of times you counter them. And if you encounter a lot of emergency situations, obviously you become calm usually you become calm within the emergency situations if you've been through so many. Like you may have had a lot of like trauma response training or things along the lines of that. Just having a high level of experience when it comes to dealing with people who have been through some ish, and you yourself have been through some ish. Okay. And then, the thing about this is that we see that you are somebody who has this like abundance mindset. You don't think that, what's in front of me is all that is. You're someone who's like, there's still more out there to do. There's still more out there to discover. There's still more out there to accomplish. There's this whole world of prosperity that is at my fingertips. Whether that is I can grow the type of personal relationships that I want to grow, or that I can, live in the type of environment I want to live in. I can have the type of job that I want to have. I can, look however I want to look. Like you just feel like there's always a opportunity for you to gain the things that you so desire within your lifetime, to build this inner and outer richness within your world. They may even feel that you have like a strong connection to nature, somewhat. I'm not gonna emphasize that too much, because when I do see like this Pluto Venus energy, it's usually less about nature and more so about like spiritual development. That's mainly what I see it for. Like just having like a strong like passionate side to them. Okay, that's the main thing that I see it when it comes to that. And just having like very transformative relationships. And they feel like you also bring a lot of transformation to other people's lives. That you are someone who really helps develop and change other people, allows other people to see other perspectives. It goes back to that cheerleader type of energy that you are bringing when I say you don't give up on people who you feel are suffering. You're like, I want to help you through this. I want to help you overcome. I want to push you to grow into this bright energy that I see within you, that this potential that I see within you. And then they feel like you do a great job at looking out for your well-being, though sometimes you push yourself a little bit too hard. And that you're just a naturally beautiful person inside and out, for sure. Like your ancestors just see the beauty within you, the grace that you carry, the wisdom that you have, your desire to express yourself creatively, the intellect that you carry. Like your ancestors just have a lot of admiration for you and the life that you live is what I'm seeing here. And they may feel like you just enjoy, your material things, the things that you worked hard for. They're like, okay, you really like the finer things in life a little bit, especially with this Pluto Venus energy coming together. It's like, okay, I really like some nice things. I like some expensive things. I like I like a little moolah here. That's what that thing goes on. For sure. For sure, I see that with this placement. And, but mainly it's about intensity of in-personal relationships. When I think about Venus and Pluto coming together, and I think about the people that I've seen who have this placement, there's a huge focus on interpersonal relationships and development through connections through other people. Like, that's like the main focus, socializing, being around other people, having a love for growing that interconnectedness, knowing about other people's personal lives, personal business. Like it's just a thing that they love, just being super connected to others. And so your ancestors feel like that's you, that you have this love and desire to just strongly connect to other people, and that you're great at it. Like you're really great at developing relationships that matter and that are very significant, and what's the word I'm looking for it, that have a lot of value and a lot of quality to the relationships. You're not Mr. or Mrs. superficial relationships. You like deep connections. Deep, strong connections is what your ancestors feel. That is pretty much what I have for you, pile number 4. Like your ancestors are pretty clear when it comes to the messaging that they're bringing, that you like to just explore, deep subjects. You might even look into psychology, sociology, things like that, the human mind, nature, how people work, how their minds work. These are things like they feel like I said, they feel like a strong interest when it comes to humanity, the human mind, the human spirit, personal growth, self-discovery, emotional transformations, profound transformations through love, interconnectedness. And you may have even had some kind of weird, faded, like maybe not weird is not the right word, but some unexpected, faded sort of relationship encounters in a way, is what I would see here with these placements. But yeah, that is what I have, and I think that covers everything: the boldness, the charm, the beauty, the magnetism, the forgiveness, the lovingness, the wisdom. Like, you're a really amazing group, pile number 4. So I really hope that you like this reading. If not, feel free to choose another pile, or maybe you could choose another reader. Either way, I'm super happy you stopped by, and I hope to see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pile number 5. Let's get into what your ancestors think of you. We have the King of Cups, the 3 of Swords, the Ace of Pentacles, the 7 of Pentacles, and Sun and Mars. Okay. You see, that's interesting. Okay, so right away we know that your ancestors think that you are somebody who's extremely emotionally mature. With the King of Cups, it doesn't get any higher, like in the maturity level. I mean, the Queen of Cups is obviously equally mature, but the King of Cups kind of represents just mastery overall in general, or just even having more power to affect others, I should say, because I feel like the King and Queen of Cups are equally masterful when it comes to emotional intelligence, but one person has more power and influence and who's able to help other people when it comes to growing their emotional world and landscape and understanding themselves. So your ancestors feel like you're somebody who has grown a lot, who has probably gone through some circumstances which has caused them to mature and taper deeper reflection on who they are and how they show up in the world, what it is that they want and desire, and why they want those things. So they recognize your deeper reflective nature, which naturally comes with the King of Cups energy. The King of Cups energy is someone who is compassionate, not only to others, but to themselves. Like, you try to talk kindly about yourself. You try to check yourself when you're having, self-defeating or thoughts that may be discouraging towards yourself. You're someone who, instead of getting angry, and I'm not saying that you didn't used to get angry, because we do have this Sun and Mars here, but instead of getting angry now, you're just like, okay, let me take a moment, let me take a breather, let me pause and think before I act. So they definitely see a lot of emotional maturity, a lot of growth from you. They really do believe that you are somebody who is just balanced emotionally. I should say that. And I'm going to move on to the other cards, but there's a few more things I want to say about this King of Cups energy. They feel like you're somebody who's very masterful and creative, because the King of Cups loves expressing themselves, loves enacting and putting out in the world their artistic vision. And the King of Cups isn't shy about it. If you are shy about it, then I think you're going to get to the point where you're putting your stuff out there, because the King of Cups wants to be heard and wants to be seen, like all kings. So it's about sharing your vision with the world, and your ancestors feel like you're somebody who's really great at that, and also good at putting out a positive and supportive message to other people. At the same time, you're able to remain diplomatic, especially in the way that you express yourself and your speech, and I guess maybe even your art or creative vision or whatever project you pour yourself into. If you're not artistic or artistically inclined, you just may try to take a more diplomatic approach when it comes to interacting with others. And I'm not saying that you don't have moments. I mean, even the King of Cups has his moments as like an extremely emotionally mature person. Even he can get triggered. Even he can, you know, go through rough times and be in bad moods and have bad days. But for the most part, consistently, he's someone who treats people with respect and kindness, and he has a very gentle approach to others. And he just wants to enable and empower others to respect themselves, respect him, you know, respect the people around them. So that is what your ancestors think of you. They think that you're a very reflective, wise person. But let's get into this Three of Pentacles going on here, and this Ace of Pentacles. Sorry, this Three of Swords and this Ace of Pentacles reversed. So your ancestors recognize that you are somebody who has been through those tough times, and I'm sure that's probably played a role when it comes to the emotional maturity that you've experienced. I think because you have had so many turbulent moments in your life, heartbreaking moments in your life, moments where you felt sad, defeated, and lonely, it's led you to this emotionally evolved state, or that's at least been a part of it. I'm not going to say that it's all dependent on, you know, your sadness, but that was a major role when it comes to developing who you are and your character. I'm just going to put that out there. At least that's how your ancestors see things. They feel like you're someone who just carries a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but you carry this aching or yearning for maybe even missed opportunities, or things that never happened, or things that never actualized or materialized, because we have this Ace of Pentacles here. And that can be a lot of situations and a lot of things where you're looking back, and because the thing about the Three of Swords, it always looks back. Like, that's why it's sad. You know, it's thinking about the past and all those moments and sad things that have occurred, and the grief and the emotional suffering. So it's almost like you're having this sorrow and sadness, maybe even when it comes to romantic relationships, maybe even comes with friendships. And then, like I said, maybe, like I said before, with moments that just never actualized. Moments that never materialized, moments that never existed, that you wish had happened. And I'm going to give you an example. Like, for example, I'm a huge Amy Winehouse fan. And one thing that I guess my heart would aches for is the fact that I never got to see her live. And as a fan, it's devastating. Even till this day, like, she's been gone for a minute, but I'm just like, oh, but that moment never happened. And I never got to see her. Gosh, I wish I could have. And so there been me some moments like that. It may be more serious than, my little example that I gave. But it may be even something along the lines of that, where you just kind of have these aching for little moments that you wish could have occurred. You know what I mean? Like, I was just watching a video the other day about a woman who was saying how she'd never been in a healthy relationship. And so she was sort of like grieving her dating life, and almost like giving up her dating life for like a set period of time, and saying that she just doesn't feel like putting in any effort into that area. And she was just putting that expectation behind her, putting that effort into wanting to date and be in a relationship behind her. So it's almost like feeling this sense of sorrow and heartache for this moment that never got to happen, this relationship that never got to form or connect, this connection I never got to build. And then, as I said before, this can also represent friend breakups, relationship breakups, sadness about just even people leaving your life, or sadness about, you know, people going on to the other side. And your ancestors see that you're someone who's sad about that. There may be someone out there who you deeply cared about, who you just miss, and you just wish they would come back into your life, or you wish you could have one more moment with them. And your ancestors see that. They see that within you, that you're somebody who cares very deeply about the losses that you have experienced, and you feel those feelings so strongly. There is, like, the thing about the Three of Swords is it can represent such mental anguish. I mean, it's the heartache card, you know. It's the I'm lonely card. It's the I'm so sad right now card. It's the I need some healing card. And so this can also represent you going through a period of healing. And I think your ancestors feel like you're constantly trying to mend those wounds. And I think they see that you're realizing that more than likely those wounds aren't going to completely mend and heal. And time may not just heal all wounds, right? It can represent that you have said, okay, I recognize that I can't completely let go of certain things. And sometimes it's going to cause me to have that hurt, and maybe that's my baggage to carry, because Three of Swords can represent baggage, and people say baggage like such a negative thing, but it just means you've been through some experiences, and some of those experiences haven't been pleasant, right? And you're like, it's okay. You're like accepting that, essentially, is what the energy kind of is. And you sort of carry this sort of like sad girl, sad boy energy a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's what your ancestors feel. That's what they see within you. They just see it. They just see that, you know, it's constant growth. It's constant healing. It's understanding that, you know, not everything's going to be mended, and certain things you wish you had closure in, but I think you understand, at least since we have this King of Cups energy, that you're just not going to get closure when it comes to everything. Like I mean, I think that's clear. One thing that we do see here when it comes to the Ace of Pentacles, and I guess, yeah, the Ace of Pentacles and sort of like the Three of Swords, I'll say, is it can represent sometimes a little bit like a lack of focus on current goals. So like getting distracted from things that you may have wanted to achieve or wanted to do. So your ancestors may feel like maybe you, like, thinking about these hard moments are reflecting on these times, these breakups, these instances, these situations that have been very gut-wrenching, have been a little bit distracting for you, which makes sense, because when you need to heal from a situation, sometimes you just need to focus on that healing. And I don't think that that's necessarily like a criticism for them or anything. They just feel like, okay, we recognize that you may need a little bit more time, because the Ace of Pentacles upright moves pretty slowly. When it's in a reverse position, it can move even slower. So it's like, okay, you just need a little bit more time to just kind of focus and get yourself together when it comes to being able to fully go after the things that you want to go after. And that doesn't mean you're not currently doing it. It's just that there's just moments and days that you just need to take to just pause. I think that's what it is. I think it's just saying that there's sometimes moments and days that you just need to pause and say, I just need a moment to myself. I just need a moment to myself because things are hard. Okay? And so they see that in you. Your ancestors generally view you as somebody who is very, very successful. even if sometimes you can have these big, wild visions, they feel like you can actualize them. Because the thing about the Ace of Pentacles, sometimes it's like this person is not grounded in reality. This person is just throwing some things out there without a plan. But at the same time, since it's following the Seven of Pentacles, it's like, how did that even happen? Like, how did you manage to just go in there, no plan, and find success? And so your ancestors see you as this person who is able to just jump in, like Trump says, having concepts of a plan, right? And and find success. Like they see this for you, that you have managed to take something out of nothing and grow it. It's almost like, you know, you are very resourceful. Like you're someone who can manage to put together certain materials and create this amazing, beautiful, like painting out of like dirt and rocks or something like that. And people are like, how did you do that? Like, what is going on here? It's kind of like if you're that person and you're at home and then people come over and they're just like, oh my God, there's nothing to eat here. And you're like, there's nothing to eat. We got a can of beans. We got some bacon. We got some liquid smoke. We've got water. You know what I can make you? I can make you red beans and rice. You know what I mean? Like you're somebody who just can make anything out of nothing. Like you're such a resourceful person and it can turn out just amazing. You know, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of the saying for that. Is it diamond in the rocks or something? No, it's like, I don't know what it is, but you're just a generally resourceful person who can turn, a rock into a diamond, who can, like I said, make something out of nothing. Like they could like throw you into just a room full of air and water and somehow you would come out with some sort of invention or tool or whatever, some new idea or something along the lines of that. And then you grow it and you invest it and you make wise decisions based upon that. But back into that something into nothing and that very sort of like impulsive action and impulsive nature that we get here, that is very much on point with this Mars and Sun rule type energy. Your ancestors feel like you are someone who makes very quick and decisive decisions. And it just may be that your life is just set up that way, that you just have to make these quick decisions in order to meet your goals, that you have been thrown into some unexpected circumstances, which definitely the Ace of Pentacles reverse can represent. I did not see this thing coming. You know what I mean? Like, didn't expect that to happen. Oh, I forgot to mention the financial setbacks. Like your ancestors recognize that you've had some financial setbacks and that somehow you've managed to come out of them and be very, I guess, adept. And I'm not going to say masterful, but like you have a lot of knowledge when it comes to how to maintain financial stability in a sense. I just want to, I'll just want to mention that. But back to this Mars and Sun placement, definitely somebody who has to make a lot of quick judgments, and they really do find that you're a very decisive person. You don't have to think too much about things, even if sometimes you make some financially crazy decisions. Like they just looking at you like, what in the world? Sometimes, not as much anymore because we do have this Ace of Pentacles, but they're looking back at the past and they're like, I remember when you made that $1,000 purchase on, I don't know, a pair of shoes that you don't even wear anymore. Like they're looking at you sideways. Okay. They remember that. They see you as somebody who's very passionate, who can, not gonna lie, get a little frustrated easily, because Mars and Sun together can bring about that frustration. But they love that you are assertive, that you take your time to stand up for yourself and stand up for what exactly is right for you and set boundaries, which people don't talk about that enough when it comes to Sun and Mars. One great quality of these two planets coming together is someone being strong enough to set boundaries for themselves and say, hey, I don't think that's acceptable. I remember the last time I had, I don't remember if it was Sun transit Mars or Mars transit my Sun. And that was a day where I had gotten a new job. I was supposed to start like within a week. But that week, my new boss was messaging me saying that if you want to go on vacation, you have to like check in with other people about them filling in the days for you. But he had also not even given me the days in which I'd be working. And it was just so confusing. And I was just like, why didn't you tell me this when I was asking questions about vacation during the hiring process, right? So because I was asking questions, like I was asking a few questions. I was like, is me going on vacation this going to be a problem? Like, what are the policies on this? Da, da, da. Like I was going through things, right? Like you do in an interview process. And he just didn't tell me those things. So obviously I set boundaries and said, hey, like I can't have a job that's like that, right? I had to like find a different job because that wasn't for me, but that I had to set that boundary for myself. I couldn't just allow that sort of behavior, because if I kind of allowed that sort of sneaky behavior to slide, then it's like, well, what else is going to slide? What else is he going to like surprise me with the next? Like, what's the next thing that this person is going to try to push boundaries on and see what they can get away with, right? So that's something I just didn't really, I didn't really think was appropriate, and I just thought it was very sneaky, and it was just a weird vibe, right? So one thing your ancestors love about you is that you're a person who's kind of like what I was just describing, where I'm like, just to stand up for yourself. Say that's not acceptable. I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. And that's not for me. And they love that you are somebody who just naturally has leadership qualities. We already have the King of Cups representing leadership, but these two combinations represent leadership as well, wanting to take the initiative. Whether that could be for anything. Like, I don't think I need to explain the initiative to you guys. You know, whether that's like starting a business, starting school, starting some sort of salsa merengue class, whatever the case may be. Like, it's all about you just wanting to be proactive and want to get things done. You are definitely the definition of a go-getter. Maybe even a little bit of a perfectionist, because the Ace of Pentacles reverse can be that type of energy. And like I said before, sometimes it's like you are shooting for the moon and like somehow you land there. I don't know how, but it seems like wild. Because you're just like going in without a plan. But yes, that's something I wanted to say. And then we also have that you're someone who is always like reflecting on your personal goals, and they find that to be a very strong and great characteristic about you. But we already kind of knew that from the the Seven of Pentacles, because that card is already about reflecting and thinking about your goals. But so is Sun and Mars. Naturally, when those two planets come together, it's all about discovering what thing you would like to get into next. What's the next project? What's the next focus? Where do you want to pour your energy into? What's going to motivate you? What's going to bring your passion together? And that's another thing. They see you as such a passionate individual. Very passionate, very much strong-willed. Like I said, assertive, leader. Is there any other word I'm forgetting? Sometimes impulsive. Let's not forget that. Maybe even competitive. I don't know if it's competitive with others or if it's just competitive to like improve yourself or anything like that. I'm sure it's like probably improve yourself, because the Ace of Pentacles reverse. And so the reversals can be more internalized. So I just want to say that. And then they see you as somebody who maybe even like they think you're physically might be kind of strong. Because sometimes I get those cards together represent somebody who is just a strong person and may put a lot of effort into their physical body. Same with the Seven of Pentacles. Or you could just literally just be strong. You may not even work out or anything, but you may just be very strong. Sometimes people just have a strong muscle, a lot of muscle mass or something like that. Or they're just naturally physically strong. If not, you know, definitely somebody who can like I mentioned before, stand up for themselves, stand up for other people in a way, encouraging other people to stand up for themselves, encouraging other people to think before they act, even though sometimes you may not do that. But you're like, don't be like me, don't be like me, right? Very innovative when it comes to your thought process, because one thing about one thing about Mars is Mars represents things that are surprises, things that are like coming out of nowhere because it's connected to Scorpio. And the sun can be your vitality, sort of your career, your general personality, or just who you are. So sometimes you come up with like these genius, amazing, creative ideas that just seem like they come from nowhere. And it's quite amazing. I mean, the downsides of Sun and Mars could be somebody who might be like egotistical. So maybe there's aspects of yourself that may be a little selfish, but I think that can be applied to everyone. I think we all have that level of like a little bit of selfishness for ourselves. And I think that's good. Generally somebody who wants to be recognized for the things that they do, which we can see that you put yourself out there, maybe not just to be recognized, but you like the recognition. And there's like this sense of urgency when Sun and Mars comes together. You're somebody who's like, I want to get things done now. I want to get things done quick, fast, and in a hurry. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like, I want to get this done. Like, that's you. Maybe it's a little bit of an anxiety thing going on there, but for sure they see that. And then the last thing I want to mention is there may be like a little bit of a quiet confidence coming from you. At first I was thinking, maybe you struggle a little bit. It could be you struggle a little with confidence, a little bit. Like you may have had some moments where in the past you've been hurt, and that hurt has kind of destroyed your confidence, and you had to rebuild it. And so your ancestors saw how you rebuild your confidence and your inner strength, and you may still have some moments where you feel insecure about certain things, or you've had moments where you're just not feeling, your best. But overall, they generally see you as a very confident, headstrong person. That's generally just how they see you. Who is energetic when it comes to meeting their goals. Like I said, you cannot be swayed to go in a different direction. You are very, very stubborn. Okay? Very, very, very stubborn. Determined. Maybe that's a better word. Determined, stubborn. Yeah, that's you. Pushing to get through any challenge that comes your way. And very enthusiastic. Like you have this spark and enthusiasm about life. They just feel like you are such a provocative and amazing, provocative in a good way, amazing person. So that is what I have for you, pile number 5. Hopefully this resonates. If not, feel free to choose another pile or maybe another reader. Either way, I am happy to have read for you. I'll see you next time. Au revoir.